Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to this episode of Two Girls, One Doc. It's your girl, BD, and today is a rerun, and Forens was not feeling great this week, so we weren't able to record, but we are going to replay this episode. It's a really good episode, and it came out, I think, like 3 years ago, almost to the day. It's a very, very, very sad story, but it's so well told, and I think that even though this episode is amazing and explains it really well, it's definitely worth watching. I think you can still find it on Netflix. But yeah, enjoy the show.
All right, guys. Shall we get into the episode?
We should, and I think the reason there's been so much preamble is because what we're about to enter is wild.
It is heavy.
There's going to be no more laughter from this point onwards.
Heavy. We should do a credits episode just on Dreamgirls, but you haven't watched it.
We have this conversation at least once a month.
I just realized no, because
I have watched it. This is not the first time, nor is it the second time that we've had this conversation on the podcast.
You said to me you hadn't watched it. There's something you said you hadn't watched. I was shocked, and I was sure it was
Harry Potter.
No, I'm not shocked about Harry Potter. I know you're one of my never watched Harry Potter friends.
I have seen Dreamgirls. I saw it in the cinema. No, Titanic.
That's the one. We should have a Dreamgirls themed credits episode.
I don't know that anyone wants to listen to us.
It's such a big part of my life. I'm so surprised that
every time I drink this thing, I forget how bitter it tastes, and then I'm reminded again, and then I forget, and then I drink it again.
Yeah, it's such a big part of my life.
Oh, Dreamgirls, yeah. Okay, well, okay. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, okay. All right, guys. So like we said last week, we are doing Tell Me Who I Am. And we've actually both watched this documentary before.
Yep.
But it was such a while ago, I can't even remember some of the stuff we discussed.
I watched it last year. I remember it being last year. It was during the pandemic. Because I remember where I was and that place. I was only there
longer
during
ago.
the pandemic.
But
yeah, for me, anyway.
I can't remember what we discussed because I remember you told me to watch it. So.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my day. Do you know what it is? It's even this documentary is such a good documentary. It's done so well. I wouldn't change a thing. I still recommend watching this documentary even after listening to this because it's just so well done. And even after having watched the documentary and knowing what was going to happen, it was still very much oh my god, my heart was still doing blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. It was very well written. It was very well presented. So the documentary opens up in a hospital and we're in 1982 and we don't know anyone's name right now, but one of the talking heads just basically says he woke up in a hospital and he had no clue where he was, and he recognized somebody near the bed called Marcus, and he literally just reaches out to or calls out to this guy and he's like, Marcus, where am I? And then we see the Marcus and he's he looked just narrating his view of how that day went and how the person in the bed looked confused and didn't know where they were. And Marcus is a ting. I just want to get that out of the way.
I agree.
He has Gary Lineker vibes. He's very much salt and pepper, zaddy.
I would say he's buffer than Gary Lynn's.
He is. But these are the kind of sugar daddies I'm talking about. When I'm talking about sugar daddies. So our talking head says he doesn't remember anyone but his twin, which was Marcus, and it's so weird. They're identical twins, but
it's the beard.
It seems like God only favoured one.
It's the beard, and also it's because Marcus has a bit more weight to him.
Do you think that? I think so.
That definitely factors in. He's fuller, he's thicker, he just, I don't know what it is, but Marcus, it's the beard, it's the he's just a bit, and it's so crazy, and it's literally a controlled, if you call him Zaddy.
But yeah, no. Okay, let me not say God only favoured one. I'd say,
in fact, if God favoured one the most, it was definitely the other one because he's still here. True. First of all,
that's true. So basically, we don't know exactly what led to this, but it's obvious this guy's had some sort of accident. And basically, they're saying that the accident caused him brain damage, which led to him being in a coma. And then when he woke up from a coma, he basically had memory loss. Mm-hmm. Cool. So we learned that the one who had the accident's name is Alex. So they're twins, and they're Alex and Marcus.
And I think the documentary is set up in a really good way. So Act 1 is Alex, and Alex is the one, Florence just said, is the one who had the accident. So this is, from what I understood from it, was from his point of view.
Yeah, it is.
Right.
And then So he goes back home, and obviously, understandably, there's a lot of confusion because he literally doesn't know where he is, who the people are. He's in an environment where he doesn't recognize, and he has absolutely no memory of who he is. And I just find that so crazy. Like, you walk into somewhere that's been your home and you have
no
for
idea.
people who have that memory loss, I always wonder, so what is your brain processing? Like, in your mind, where do you come from?
And
what
it's
is your
so
history?
strange as well, because it's like, even if you go to a new place, like say I go to a new place now, like a new house, right? I still have the memory of my old house to compare with this new place in order to recognize that this is not my house. So for you to have nothing, it's like you're a baby, but then when you're a baby, like, you build up on, like, every day you learn something new. Like, you're building up on the memories that you've had from before.
Yeah.
And then you get to however old he was, 18, and like you have all of these memories in the bank that help you to understand things, make decisions, feel things. But like, now you're 18 and you have nothing.
Nada.
That is wild.
It's
Like, I can't
crazy.
even imagine what that is like.
Yeah, that is absolutely crazy. I don't know that, but he was just saying that in his mind it's just blank. I can't even have it.
Yeah,
I
it
wish
must be.
my mind could be blank for one
Like an
fucking
abyss.
second.
Yeah.
Like, I just
Bare
wish I
tabs
could
open.
switch it off, but no. So yeah, basically we now hear a bit about their father, and his father never really came to the hospital. He was very emotionally distant, and the mother could not comprehend that her son did not know who she was. So her method of coping was pretending everything was okay. She didn't really want to address it or believe it, and she kind of operated as if Alex still had all his memories. So he literally has no one that understands where he's come from. He has no support in rehabilitation other than his twin brother. So Marcus goes on to teach Alex everything he knows, or he needs to know to function. Teaches him how to ride a bike, teaches him how to, like, eat, what to eat, what he
literally
likes,
everything.
what he doesn't
How to
like.
tie his
Literally
shoelaces, everything.
And Alex says that from what he could understand, like, coming into this home as a new person, like, his mother seemed to be the center of the universe. Like, she was like the center of everything that happened in the house. She was larger than life. She was gregarious. She was loud. Like, for all intents and purposes, she seemed like a cool woman to be around. So Alex is basically telling us that as he's, learning things, a lot of his points of reference come from TV and his impressions of what a family should be like, or what he saw on TV. So, like, he was talking about how he saw this, like, Bisto ad and they were having roast dinner, and he just assumed that that's what families were like. So in his mind, that's what his family was like. Even if they weren't necessarily always doing those things, that's family. So he starts wanting to learn more about their childhood so he can piece together the memories lost. And Marcus is showing him old pictures and basically telling them, we went on holiday. But it was done in a way that, like, Alex would ask the question, like, oh, did we ever go on holiday? And Marcus would be like, yeah, we did. And he'd show him a picture of them on holiday. Did we do this? He'd show him a picture of, we did do this. But there wasn't a massive amount of detail. And because...
Yeah, there was no context.
Literally. And because Marcus was Alex's only reference point. It's literally like when you're born as a baby, your parents are your only reference point of the truth. Everything they say to you, like, this is why a lot of people that come from African homes grow up, like, I guess, let me not say that. But yeah, they're your point of truth and their point of reference. And then as
like, your parents just tell you that you were born one day and then you go around your whole life saying, this is my birthday. How you know?
And they tell you, like, this is how you are meant to live life. And that's what you know until you're able to grow and explore and meet other people and you find your own way. So Alex says,
the life that Marcus showed me that I had and painted for me was that we were a fairly privileged family in the home counties with perfectly normal parents, dinner parties around the house and everything looked good. He painted an idyllic picture.
And it's not a bad life to wake up, like, into, I suppose, from that perspective. So we learn a bit more about the home dynamics. They weren't allowed upstairs, which is weird. They were not given a front door key. They didn't eat with their parents, and they slept in the shed from age 14. And I mean, they say shed, but it wasn't really a shed. It was more like, it was like an outhouse. It was still a comfortable, like, it wasn't like they were literally in the shed like Harry Potter was under the cupboard. But
yeah, I don't get all them references. But yeah, basically, they even say that they kind of prefer the shed because it's their space.
Yeah.
And I guess being in a house where like you have restricted access is so strange. Like, do you even really feel at home? Do you know what I mean? Like,
so you might as well be in the shed.
you might as well be in the shed, yeah.
And like their parents had a very weird marriage. One parent lived at one side of the one wing, they say, of the house. The other one lived in the other wing. They barely interacted. But it's weird because you see all these pictures of the parents like hugging and at parties,
these, like,
looking
aristocratic
happy.
parties
Yeah,
and whatnot.
yeah. So speaking of aristocrats,
Let's get into it.
just get into it. So we learned that the parents came from an aristocratic background, and the home was always filled with like sirs and ladies and duchesses and dukes, and it was very like normal for Alex because this was literally like all that he knew. So he just felt everybody lived this life, everybody had these parties, everyone's family was larger than life. So Alex kind of picks up that his dad has a temper. He's not the most pleasant person to be around.
He's a weird guy.
Literally the idea was just whatever dad says, just stay out of it, don't get involved, keep your head down, and, you know, keep your mouth shut.
Mm-hmm.
So their dad is dying of cancer, and he calls them into the office and he basically wants to apologise for everything he's done, and he asks for forgiveness. And okay, there's a lot of stuff this documentary left out that I did personal research on.
Okay, personal research.
I'll discuss this after and plug in some of the gaps, because when you're just watching it, some of the context doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So
thank you for that.
Marcus refuses, like, to forgive his dad, and Alex is like, yeah, like, he's got a bit of a temper, but it's not that deep. Like,
yeah, this guy's about to die.
Literally,
you don't forgive him. Like, what? That's weird. Like, what is it? Like, it's not that deep.
Exactly. So Alex is really shocked that Marcus doesn't forgive the dad, and he's basically like saying that, you know, he was really surprised, and he went on to ask Marcus why he didn't forgive the dad. And at this point he starts to kind of learn that, like, or feel more like he had a feeling that everything in the family is not the way Marcus has
told him.
Exactly. So also the way this documentary works is like it jumps. So Marcus and Alex are in this, I guess, almost recording studio. They're in separate places. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we see Alex talking, other times we see Marcus talking, and then there are little flashbacks in between. So we see flashbacks of, like, well, quote unquote flashbacks with actors of them talking, and there are loads of family pictures as well. And also these boys were tings when they were younger.
Oh yeah, they were buff tings.
Like, if they had moved to me out of...
Yeah, I had it.
Yeah, 100%.
Same. They gave me very much like North London, white boy, Highbury kind of vibes.
Literally,
like Islington, them kind
same
of
vibes. Like, if they had moved to me, I would have had it 10 times over. They were buff.
Yep, agreed.
Buff.
And the thing is, they looked a lot more similar back in the day when they were younger.
Yeah,
and they were normal. They were normal. Yeah, they were definitely identical. They
Yeah.
were like, you couldn't tell them apart.
Yeah.
And then I guess as time went by and life went on and stuff, Marcus picked up a bit of weight. He grew the beard, salt and pepper.
He was like, finna be zaddy. I always wondered, like, if I had a twin, what would it be like if she was super, like, slim?
I would love to be a twin.
Like, plopping along. Everyone would be like,
yeah, I would love to. I would love to be a twin, but if I was going to be a twin, I'd want to be identical.
No, I wouldn't want to be a twin. I mean, I used to want to be a twin because I was like, I wish I had someone to share all my secrets with. Yeah, literally, that was the basis of me wanting to be a twin. But then I was like, no.
Yeah, I'm happy that I'm not, but it would be nice for, like, you know, just try it out a bit.
Yeah,
see.
But then, like, you'd have to share your birthday. You'd automatically have to share your
for
parents.
you, it's very off-brand. I wouldn't mind sharing a birthday.
I really am Mariah Carey, but, like, just without the singing voice. I think if we ever met, we would be... I think she's like my secret mother or something.
Yeah, I don't think you'd get on because you both have the same energy of, like...
Even aesthetically, like, you know...
Aesthetically, like what?
I know we don't look exactly the same, but, like...
So what is the aesthetic?
Like, we have the same concept.
Yeah, your brand is very similar.
No, I'm talking about, like, physically. Not, well, she's a slim... But, yeah, no, actually, we're the same concept physically. Light skin, you know, I do the blonde wig occasionally, big boobs, not much in the back... Like,
so I should then say that you and Wendy Williams are...
No, because Wendy, no.
Blonde hair, big boobs, no back.
She's not, like, me and Mariah actually, like, shade-wise are probably quite similar. Like, I feel like we could wear the same
therein lies the
foundation.
distinction.
Yeah. And she's got, like, cheeks too, and I've got cheeks. So, that's mine.
Okay, sis.
Yeah. So Alex is saying like he basically felt that like when his dad died, like it would mean the rules would ease because it seems like the dad was the one.
Yeah,
that was...
it's like almost like he's the dictator.
Yeah,
he's
it's kind of like when the cat goes out, the mice come out to play.
Right. And now the cat's dead.
He's dead. He did. That Tom is dead.
Amen.
But Jerry is still in hiding because nothing changed. So the dad died, but the mum was still maintained. It even seemed like the rules got worse, basically.
Yeah, which should have made you think that, like, oh, okay, maybe the dad wasn't as, involved or responsible for the rules.
The issues, yeah.
Yeah.
So 5 years later, their mother dies. And Alex is heartbroken. And he's crying for days. But Marcus shows no emotion. So again, Alex is like...
As in none. As in, like, Alex says, I wasn't sad and I didn't feel guilty about not being sad.
Yeah.
Like, I just didn't feel anything.
Yeah.
Which is like, apathy is so much worse than hate. Like, you don't feel a thing.
Literally, I don't feel anything either way.
Yeah.
And I guess Alex is like, again, something isn't right. Like,
this is weird, yeah.
Can I just say, I love how they address each other. Like, Marcus calls Alex Ali.
Yeah.
And then Alex called Marcus Marky. Oh my God.
It's so cute. And that's what I'm saying about twins. I feel like when it's like good and there's not like an evil twin and a good twin, it's just like, it must just be an unexplainable bond that you have with somebody. Because even remember that episode that we did, 3 Identical Strangers? I don't remember which number episode, but we did it earlier on. It's like there was a bit where they were talking about how when they were separated at birth, like each of them in their separate homes would like bang their heads against the wall during the night, because you've been in the womb for 9 months with these 2 other babies. In real life, you're with these 2 other babies, and then like for you to be without those 2 other babies, like your body's like, what is this? Like, what is this feeling of alone?
We shared a space. Yeah,
like I've not been alone ever. Like,
it's so true.
That must be some crazy bond. All those like multiple births.
Literally
people.
Crazy. But we'll post a picture of these guys, actually. I just remembered that we will post
Oh my
pictures.
gosh, yeah, we'll do one and then we'll do Marcus and then swipe to Alex, and then you guys can see who's a bit of you. But it's definitely Marcus for me, man. And seeing him so vulnerable as well, I was just like, oh God, I'm so sad this happened to you. But like the fact that you like can cry.
I was a tsunami.
I know the bar is in hell, but still, like I know the fact that you can cry is like, do you know what, babes?
Tsunami.
Come, let me hug you. Oh my God, how did we get here? How did we get here?
So basically the 2 boys go back to the house and they start clearing things out. And by the way, by the time their mum had died, I believe they were now like 32 from my understanding. So Alex had this accident at 18. You all do the math, but 18 to 32 is a long amount of time.
Yep.
And that's how many years he was living, I wouldn't say a lie, but...
It was a lie.
A fantasy.
Yeah.
It wasn't a lie because it was an admission of truth. He didn't paint something that...
An admission of truth is a lie.
No. Because I can tell you... you can come to my shop to be like to me, oh, is this a green cup? And I'll be like to you, yes, a green cup because it's painted green. But you're looking for a green cup that was made green. And I just didn't tell you it was painted.
I'm going to give you an example. Your man tells you that he's out, yeah? And you say, oh, who you out with? Oh, the boys. But he doesn't include that he's also out with his ex. That is an omission. Is that not also a lie?
No, I still don't think it's a lie. You thought you were going to get me with that cheateration.
No. Honestly,
I just think it's a lie.
That just made more sense to me than a green cup.
If I ask you, are you with your ex? And you tell me, no, you're with your boys. You just didn't mention it.
But an omission of the truth is it is deceitful. Yeah, exactly. It's
but
very
I don't
deceitful.
think it's a lie. So I don't think he was living a lie. I just think there were
either way, it's deceitful, and a lie is also deceitful.
It's deceitful. But I just think there were aspects of his childhood that were left out. But it's not like Marcus painted it. It's not like he said, "Oh, like our mother was like the secret Princess Diana."
Yeah,
like,
no, I understand. I understand that. But I still, if it were me and it was my life, and it was like you left out. It's not like he left out. Oh, the cup was green. Like he left out major chunks of his life. Like,
anyways, we'll get into our thoughts on that later. So they go and they find like loads, and this is another thing that like they mention and you're like, what the fuck, but it's actually extremely relevant, and I'll talk about this later. But they go to clear this house out and they find lots of hidden money, like sewn into curtains, like hidden in random places. And do you know what, I was listening to this podcast, it's called Mums and Murder, and the last episode is about this woman whose husband is like crazy rich, and then he dies, and like she has like this mental breakdown and like starts feeling like she's talking to God and stuff like that. And then she suddenly just wakes up and she's like, yeah, like, I need to get all of my money out the bank.
So we're talking to this one.
Did you listen to this, Mums and Murder?
Yeah, I do listen to it. I mean, I complain about it because they annoy me, but I still listen to it because the case is so good. So I actually listen to this episode.
Yeah, so she gets all this money out and she hides it around her house, and like people rob her. And I was literally sitting in the car and I was like, I think I would rob her. If I knew, I would actually rob her, because she had...
People had been robbing her and she wouldn't report. She wasn't reporting,
and it's not even because she wasn't reporting, it's because she had like, I think it was the equivalent of like 9 million. Nobody really knows how much she had in the house, in all these random places, and she was a hoarder. So it wasn't even like her house, it was like clean and clear, and she was a hoarder. So
she
is it really going to be a miss?
Remember where the money is, yeah.
Literally, if I go and take one toolbox full of, I don't know, 500,000, like 500,000, like that's going to change my life, but it's no skin off your teeth, like.
And the thing is, back then it was fine because you still pay for stuff in cash. If that were to happen now, then now I've got to find ways to clean the money. How do I get it to a bank account? How do I? It's stress.
Now I'm doing Grace and Frankie opening a confectionery stand.
But back then it was actually just like calm vibes.
Like, I was actually thinking about it. I was like, morally, yeah, whatever, say what you want, but I would actually have robbed her if. And I literally am the least criminally whatever person.
That's what the criminals say.
Genuinely, I live on the straight and narrow, but I genuinely think I would have robbed her, because what the fuck? Like, if I knew there was a hoarding woman down my road that was like considered the quote unquote town crazy, and she had all this money in her house and she didn't even know when people were robbing her and she didn't care to report, child, I'm slipping all the way in, like, leave the door open, no Bruno Mars. So, they find all this money dotted around, whatever, and then it's really strange. And again, this is why I was like, what the fuck, like something is missing from this documentary. They go to the attic and they find all these presents from like years ago, like from when they were kids, presents from aunties, uncles, godparents, grandparents, all of these stuff like upstairs. And then like Marcus was saying,
I remember they weren't allowed to go upstairs ever, literally.
And Marcus was basically saying that, like, yeah, when he was a kid and when they were kids and they were growing up, they went Christmases and birthdays without gifts. So it was very strange that their mum had all these gifts upstairs.
So why were you hiding them?
Again, we'll discuss this later. So Alex is really confused and he's like, I kind of just feel like I don't know my mum, like what the fuck is going on? And then
now she's dead, so you can't even ask.
And then they're clearing this cupboard and it's full of sex toys. And again, he's shocked, but Marcus kind of just brushes it over, like
he's like, oh yeah, we have things to do. Put that stuff away.
Come and be going, like,
yeah.
So as they're clearing up, Alex finds this like locked cupboard in her cupboard. Right, it's kind of like the Lion Witch in the wardrobe. There was a cupboard in the
honestly,
cupboard
literally
that required a special key, and then he opened it, and then in it there was literally just this random picture face down. So
just one picture face down, literally, in this
locked cupboard. He picks up the picture and he turns around and it's a picture of him and Marcus naked at like 10 years old and their heads have been cut off. So he's kind of like, what the fuck is going on? And he literally is like, yeah, Marcus, were we abused? And he was like, yeah, we were. But I was kind of like, I found it crazy that he saw that picture, and unless there was more to the picture that he didn't tell us, like if they were in a compromising position. But I'm not even gonna lie, I think there's a naked picture of each and every one of us in this house.
I was like,
as babies, not as adults.
Because I just hope so. Because in the picture, from what we can see, we don't see it properly, but it's kind of like they've got their arms around each other, like, you know, when you're standing side by side with someone.
Yeah, naked. Yeah,
it was like that. So when I saw it, like my mind didn't jump. When I first read it, my mind didn't jump to sexual abuse. It was just kind of like, oh, that's fucking weird. Like, why have you cut the heads off?
It was the heads cut off that I was like, this is weird. I didn't find the picture weird. Like, there's literally this picture.
It's like naked children. Like, it was their children. They're naked. It's not sexual. Do you know what I mean?
Literally, there's literally this picture we have of like Chazam, and she's sitting in a bucket, and she's like naked. She was like a baby. She must have been like maybe 2, and she's like chubby and all, and she's sitting in the bucket.
Yeah.
And like, I remember when they went to get it printed, like one of our aunties who was at the time like very, I guess, I don't know if progressive is the right word, but she's still progressive, one of the most, and she was like, you guys should not have gotten that picture printed, like they're weirdos that work at these places. But either way, the point is just like, I have a picture also where my mum's carrying me and I'm like absolutely naked and I was a baby. Like, I feel like everybody has those like naked baby pictures.
So that,
I mean, not so much now, but yeah.
But that picture of your sister, it's just like a cute like little baby picture. But if the head was cut off,
that's the weird thing.
It would be like, this is weird, but I still wouldn't think,
Sexual
this means
abuse.
that I was abused. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
So I get what you mean. They're probably like, what
there was
led
more
you to believe,
the picture then, and maybe they didn't want to go into details.
Maybe there were other things that was like 2 + 2 now makes 4.
Now makes 4, literally, because that naked baby picture is a very common thing. So Marcus, we're now at the Marcus scene. We figured out, so Alex has figured out that he has been abused, and now we switch to Marcus, and we hear...
so now it's like Act 2, and then it's like Marcus's point of view.
Yeah, and it's Marcus, like you said, Marcus's point of view. So Marcus basically says from day one, he did paint a fake picture for Alex, that they had a nice house, their parents were decent, and a normal childhood. And he felt that Alex's memory loss was a chance to give him a normal childhood. Like, he gave him happy memories. He tried not to make anything up. He just left things out. So basically what he was saying was like, okay, Alex, would ask him, did we go on holiday as a kid? And he'd find a picture of them on holiday. But it wasn't a family holiday like, mummy, daddy, and us. It was them on holiday with somebody else's family because their parents were fucking shit. So they weren't taking them anywhere. And it's like, I don't need to sit here and tell you, like, our parents are fucking shit. I just need to tell you, as kids, we went on holiday and that was a good time.
Who we went with doesn't matter. The fact
exactly.
And then he would take that and then other pieces of, I watched this on TV, families go on holiday. And in his mind, he would start painting a
picture himself.
Yeah.
And
it's like, I saw this thing, there was one time ages ago, and it was kind of like, they would show, it's so random, I think it's like a game show, and they basically would show like contestants like pictures of them as a child in like situations, like maybe they'd have a picture of them in Butlins or something and be like, tell me the story about this day as a kid, and it was like it was a study, and it basically was saying how like if you give people like a picture, even if it was fabricated, they would come up with a story about what happened that day, whether it was true or not, because a lot of the pictures they would just like Photoshop them and gave it to them, and they would come up with that was the day that I went to whatever. So it was a similar thing minus the the Photoshop. It was just like, this is a real picture. We did go to, I don't know, Butlins or whatever, but Alex is thinking, cool, we probably went with our parents because people go on holiday with their parents. And Marcus didn't then say, we went with the Johnsons because our parents hate us.
Yeah, literally. And I think that's the case. And I mean, people have different opinions on that, but we'll get into that later. So Marcus says,
I was lying to my best friend, my partner, my other half, every single day. And the guilt of doing that is so big. But telling him the truth was 1,000 times worse than telling him a lie. So I was damned if I did, and I was damned if I didn't.
And at this point, we still don't know what the ultimate truth is. We've been told they were sexually abused, but like...
And bearing in mind, in the documentary, we're like halfway through at this point.
And
so in your head, you're like... So the first time you hear the abuse, you're like, oh my God, like that's so sad. But then just still like half the documentary left, so you're like, oh my God, what more? Like how much worse can it get?
So because of this, Marcus chose to never tell his brother about his childhood. So kind of we learn a bit more about the abuse. So we learned that they were abused till about age 14, and Marcus just felt this wasn't the information he needed to give his confused brother, and he would have wanted his brother to do the same. Like, he just felt that not carrying this shit feeling was a gift. And I think looking at it like in that light, like imagine you come back, your brother's already emotionally like disturbed because he doesn't know where he is. He doesn't understand his life. He's trying to like relearn certain things like basic like riding a bike and stuff. Like, and this is now like permanent memory loss. It's not like one day he's going to wake up and suddenly remember everything, or even if he will, you don't know how far into the future, how near. Is that really the time to come and be like, by the way, this woman we now live with used to like do some weird shit with us? Like, it doesn't for me.
Would you want to know?
I'm going to answer that later. I'm going to answer it later. I feel like people should have a full picture of what happened before we discuss that.
Okay.
So Marcus says he was in so much pain that like he then needed to start believing this reality that he'd created for Alex. And it makes a lot of sense because it's like, this is my twin, this is the person I do life with, this is my everything, like we are partners in this life. So if he now has this new reality by virtue of being his twin and his other half,
he too had the same childhood.
Yeah, so he was able to like, and he said it was freeing for him because suddenly he wasn't that kid that was abused. He was just this normal guy that had a nice childhood and a twin. So Alex says he cried for days after, the confirmation that their mother was abusing
A
them.
paedophile.
Literally a paedophile. And Marcus just shuts down. He confirms that their father did not abuse them and didn't know their mother was abusive. But one thing I found really annoying, and I jotted it down here, is like Alex especially keeps calling their mum mummy.
Mummy.
And there's nothing wrong calling your mum. I still call my mum and dad mummy and daddy. There's nothing wrong with that. But I feel like, and maybe it's me or a mental thing, I feel like mummy is such a term of endearment. Like, I call my mother mummy because she's a mummy. Like, I have that relationship, and my dad. But why? I just found it weird that you'd still call your mum, who literally was a paedophile and abused you, mummy.
But then
I'd
also
just be
bear in
"Mum" or
mind,
mother.
he has no recollection of that happening while he was building up
Marcus
the relationship.
does the same.
While he was building up the relationship to call... No, Marcus says mother a lot more.
No, he says mummy at the... Oh, maybe he says mother at the long...
He says mother, because I remember thinking mother. Who calls their mum mother? But I guess if you're an aristocrat, then you do. But it's like... And what's his name? Alex is just catching up on the fact that he was abused. So he's not all of a sudden going to be like, right, okay, vocabulary, X out mummy.
It's just weird, and it's creepy to hear.
Because he's an old man. Well, he's not an old man. Well, they're 54 now, so...
Yeah. No, it's not even... It's... Yeah. So... Alex basically tells us that, he was hurt by the abuse, but he felt angry and betrayed, by the fact that Marcus had told him this. And basically, Marcus went into shutdown. He wouldn't answer any more questions. He wouldn't give details. And it's understandable, because for him to have those conversations, he's reliving it himself. And this is stuff he probably
It's also
buried.
trauma that he's experiencing.
Exactly, to function. So... Alex decides to start doing some digging on his own, and he says he finds letters from different men who were obsessed with her, some really famous people in the army and stuff like that. And he was it was very obvious that sex was a huge part of her life. And again, I just wish this documentary went into more detail, because they say that and then it's okay, and what?
In what way?
Mm-hmm. So he then becomes depressed because he feels after doing all this digging and learning a few things, he feels like the life he lived was a lie. He doesn't know the truth. He's been trying to rebuild, and he's been rebuilding on a lie. So he falls into deep depression. And we learn that what saves him from this depression was he met his wife, he had kids, and he lived a decent life with her, and so did Marcus. So they're both doing life, and it's so weird. The chronology is he finds out about this, asks Marcus for some information. He refuses to give him the information. He does some digging, finds out weird shit about his mum, but not really everything he needs to know.
He still doesn't know what he wants to know from Marcus, because only Marcus can give him that.
Literally, and Marcus will not tell him. And we're back in present day, and we learned that despite this elephant in the room, these two are still so extremely close. They do everything together. They have businesses together. They do all sorts of stuff together.
Yeah, they wrote a book together.
And even in the book, Marcus was still shut off. He wouldn't go into detail. And I'd be interesting to read that book, because I'd want to know what the book then is about if he doesn't go into
Well, I mean, I think it's literally up to about 45 minutes into this documentary. It's the fact that you had an accident, lost your memory, I was there for you, you were there for me, and then found out we were abused, and then the end.
Yeah.
Because it does seem like the documentary is an extension of the book.
Yeah, that's true.
Of what I would think the book would be about. I've not read it.
Yeah. So they've been sitting in separate rooms at this time filming, and we're back in the studio, obviously. And then they come together because the idea now is that, okay, finally Marcus needs to open up. He needs to talk. He needs to reveal all.
Yeah, and this is Act 3.
Yeah, and it's very sad to watch them, because these men are in pain. Marcus is basically explaining to Alex why he couldn't open up, and Alex is basically explaining to him why he needs Marcus to open up.
Yeah.
So Marcus is you listen, bro, I've recorded this, and I can't sit here and face you face to face and have this conversation, but I recorded it, you can watch it. So we see one of the producers give Alex a laptop and headphones. Marcus walks away, and we watch him discuss the abuse. And basically he says that his mum would bring them into bed and make them touch each other, touch her. Oh yeah, trigger warning, guys. I say this after I'd started. So she'd make them touch each other, touch her. She would do sexual acts to them and make them do sexual acts on her. And it's just stuff that, like, a mother should never do.
And then, that no one should do to a kid, like, let alone your mother.
Literally. And then when that wasn't enough gratification for her, she decided, like, she'd start passing them around to her friends.
And so this is, like... Where
this is the worst.
Like, everything is shit. Like, everything from when you find out that they get abused, it's like, rah, this is shit. And then, like, to hear, okay, cool, your mum is abused, that is shit. And then to hear that your mum is passing you around.
Fam.
What?
It's crazy.
What is the meaning of that?
So, literally, she would drive to London and then she'd have dinner and drinks with, like, this person, whoever it was.
These aristocratic friends and that.
Literally. And then she'd drop them off for the night.
She would leave them there. So she'd bring them with her. And then she would have dinner with them and then just go and just leave them.
And the thing is that what she did as well that was really evil was she would separate them. So it wasn't like they would be at the same house. It wasn't even like they'd go at the same days. So sometimes Alex would be in bed and Marcus would be taken, or Marcus would be in bed and Alex would be taken. And it was that separating them was to show them that she had power over them, because they were twins. They drew support from each other and strength. So in separating them, you're leaving one by themselves. And literally,
I thought it was more because it's like, oh, like they just wanted the one, or like it's easy.
No.
Like, isn't you kind of get like, it's like this is gonna. It's like you can always like alternate between the two. Do you get what I mean? Like you can have one where it's like I can talk to you here, and then the other one goes, and then it's like.
But she would never do it on the same day. So that's why, for me, I feel
because she would go, it's like she's only going to be at one house at one time, right?
But it's not like she could drive from one house to the other. I definitely think it was a power play. Because when you know that person is that person's source of strength, if you separate them to deal with the abuse...
I don't think she even cared for them enough to even think that deeply. I think she was just like a sexual deviant.
I don't know, no. When I tell you some of the other stuff, you'll understand what I mean.
Okay, let's get to the end then. You keep saying at the end. Let's get to the end then.
So Alex is like, how did we ever, like, escape this horror? And then Marcus was like, yeah, basically, the last time this happened was his mum drove him to London and it was a famous artist's house. And his mum had dinner, drank and left. And
same thing.
Same thing. And she was meant to pick him up in the morning. So the guy came into the room.
He's 14 at this time.
Yeah, and tried to touch him. And then Marcus was like, no. And then the guy became angry and then literally Marcus ran out of the house. And he got home. And Alex was like, how did you get home? He was like, how did you work?
And I'm so happy that Alex was asking these questions, because you never want to doubt anyone's story. And I very much believe that this happened. But like for Alex to ask me, like, how did you get home? Like, I assume, I don't know why in my head, like they live in Hertfordshire or something, yeah. But like, they don't live in London. They probably live close enough that she's driving here regularly to be
Yeah, she does.
So I was happy that Alex asked, like, oh my, like, how did you get back? And he was able to be like, yeah, like I bumped train. Obviously back then it wasn't the same as now with Oyster cards and that. So he was able to get home, which is wild.
Google.
Imagine that journey home.
Yeah, it's not far at all. So basically, home counties is a word.
Oh, is that the name of the place?
No, it's a word for counties of England that surround London. So when they said that, it actually was quite good because they weren't being specific. So it's either like
probably within the M25.
Yeah, Buckinghamshire, Surrey, Berkshire, Essex, Hertfordshire, Kent. So it probably was Hertfordshire because they sounded Londonish.
In my head, I was like, this is Hertfordshire, yeah.
Yeah, it sounded
they all sound Londonish, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was like, he got on the tube and then you got on the train. And so that's like any of those places. You get on the underground to like Euston or King's Cross or whatever. And then you get on the train.
But even to know like how to get back, that's so crazy. Like then, even to know at
just
14.
The trauma of like, oh my goodness, like this is like... Anyway, it's just wild. But yeah, he makes it home.
Yeah, and so we're drawing to an end now, and basically he says he ran away, got home. Next day, and Alex was like, oh, so what happened? What did mummy say? And he was like, their mum saw them at breakfast and she was shocked. She looked at him, he looked at her, kind of like that Diddy and whatever give, and
but a lot more insidious.
Literally, they said nothing to each other and it just never happened again. She never took him.
I just don't understand those families where like just things just are not like, you literally dropped me off to be raped, yeah,
and we just don't talk about
you were on your way to come and pick me up, but you saw that I was already here. Did you? She probably called the man and was like spoke to the artist guy and found out from then.
But what annoyed me was they didn't name and shame, shame.
Yeah,
like all this like, oh, like an artist that don't say that.
He's probably dead, so they should have definitely named and shamed.
Yeah, that pedophile's running around like, or was for many years, cock in hand, like destroying other people's lives. Name and fucking shame. All this, like, for me,
agreed.
I will name and shame abusers. Like,
agree. To be honest, even if you did name and shame, I'm sure that the documentarians wouldn't have put it in there because it's them that will now get sued.
I guess because it's
and Netflix didn't have allowed that. So
yeah. So the documentary is drawing to an end now, and you know the boys are just hugging it out and crying and all that stuff, and it basically ends with like this view of their house, and as they're going around the grounds, Alex basically says,
"There is no way for me to repay him for what he's done. And there is no words I can say to him. But he knows. And that's enough. It's over. Finally. And we move on."
So it was a very nice ending, you know.
it was, yeah. It was a great documentary.
So before we get into what I want to know, what I not want to know, or would we want to know, would we not want to know, here are some things the documentary actually missed out that I think would have been really good for the understanding. If you'd never heard of their story before, it would be really, really good. The twin siblings, so they had other siblings, it wasn't just two of them.
They had other siblings.
And I don't know why the documentary left this out. Maybe they didn't want to be part of it. Yeah, but they had other siblings. So Alex and Marcus had two younger siblings, Oliver and Amanda, and they were also part of the story.
Were they twins? Or they were
No,
separate?
they were siblings. And when he started to question his family post accident kind of thing, in the book they kind of explore more about the relationship with the siblings, and he was also struck by the fact that he was the only one out of the four siblings that cried when his mother died, and that's when he started to be like, something is
so none of them cried.
They don't know if Amanda was subject to their mother's abuse, but they think it was Oliver, definitely was, and he spent most of his childhood thinking it was just him that was subject to that. And I'd be interested to know if those other two lived in the house.
Yeah, or the shed, because how big was the shed?
Yeah. So their father actually died when they were born. The man who raised them wasn't their dad. He was their stepdad.
So the guy who died in the documentary is their stepdad?
Yeah, he wasn't their dad. And he was extremely abusive. So again, I wish it went more into detail with this, because although he wasn't sexually abusive, he was very emotionally abusive. He used to call them dim and stupid. And they both have, I think it's, they're dyslexic. So he used to call them stupid.
They even said in the documentary he would like bang the table and raise his voice a lot.
Yeah, he was very abusive towards them and had a lot of disdain towards them. So, and their actual biological father died when they were 3 days old in a car crash. And sometimes when stuff like this happens, you just wonder like how different their lives might have been if their actual father was still alive. Yeah.
But then also their mother was their mother, and she would play a massive part in this. So
yeah, but if somebody was there to check her, that actually cared about them, maybe they would have been removed from her care.
I get what you mean, but like you can check people with like an attitude. You can't check paedophiles. Like they are literally like...
No, I'm more speaking from the sense of them being removed from her care, because the dad the stepdad didn't even care enough to know what the fuck she was doing with them. So yeah. Which
makes sense, because people always say like there's an abusive parent, like how is the other parent not aware of it, or at least suspecting of it? And it's like if those were his biological kids, he may have cared a little bit more.
Exactly.
But then also maybe not. So
because it's just, for me, it's just shocking that like he had no clue what was going on. This woman was bringing these kids into the bed, but I guess if they're sleeping in separate wings,
it's East Wing and West Wing, exactly.
Who's gonna know? So Jill was a debutante. So Jill is their mother, and she was distantly related to the British Prime Minister Clement Attlee, or Attlee. Yeah, I think it's Attlee.
I don't know that man.
And that's why she had a lot of high profile friends. And basically, after her second marriage, she had a psychotic episode which led in a sexual awakening. And the twins were put into a care home for a bit while she was having like various affairs. And Marcus basically says in like a publication that she wasn't depressed. She was out shagging, drinking and partying. I was very upset. She so callously abandoned us so she could get on with her lifestyle. And yeah, I know from like stuff I've read that there are like some like psychotic breaks that result in hypersexuality. So that's not abnormal to me, but I 100% do not believe they... Actually, I was watching this documentary where this woman had like a brain tumor, and then she became hypersexual and she started sleeping with like her students. And
that can happen.
And then once the brain tumor was removed, she was absolutely fine. And funnily
there's
enough,
been a similar story with a guy who was a paedophile. He's all of a sudden he was like, I'm starting to have these urges towards kids. He had a brain tumor. They took it out. He was fine, and then he started to have the urges again, and then the brain tumor
came back. And funnily enough, that woman, when they took hers out, she was fine. And also, funnily enough, this woman died of a brain tumor.
Oh yeah, true.
So I'm not trying to make excuses, but I do wonder, like, if
whether that's part of it.
Yeah, that's part of it. And then also, this is the part about the money that they left out that I think would have been really, really good. So the kids, or the twins grew up thinking their family didn't have any money because they couldn't do much, and they were never given nice things, and they didn't have gifts and shit. And then when their mother died, the twins discovered that she had been hoarding monies left by her relatives. So literally, she just would not give them things that they needed, but literally she had millions. Like, according to the bank, they had never seen so much money in a current account as as the amount she had. So she had loads of money that she was hoarding around the house, and she just wouldn't.
I hope they got that money when she died.
Obviously, I don't know. They had other siblings.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is what I mean about the depths of her wickedness. Like, it wasn't. She hated them. Yeah, she hated them. That's why I believe she separated them. And it also wasn't Alex that discovered the naked picture. It was Oliver. And I'm not even sure it was Marcus that told him about the abuse. I think Oliver must have mentioned something. Like, I believe what happened is Oliver found a picture when Alex was like, what the fuck is this? And Oliver was like, yeah, mate, like, mum was abusive.
Weirdo, yeah.
And then he went to Marcus for confirmation, which, again, I wish they had elaborated on because it would have made more sense.
But I guess they wouldn't have been able to if the other two didn't want to be in it.
Yeah, exactly. So, that's basically it.
So would you want to know?
No.
Would you have wanted to know if you were Alex?
I wouldn't have wanted to know, and I would have understood.
I wouldn't
not
have wanted
knowing.
to know, and it doesn't matter which part of the story it was and how much information I knew. If the facts of the story are you were abused as a child, you have an accident, you forget all about it, would you want to be reminded of that? My answer would be no. I think Marcus did the exact right thing, and I think that even though it took him a long time to disclose like the details of the abuse to Alex, like I think that he was also right in doing so, because Alex also has a right to know if he wants to know. But I can understand Marcus's like need to be like, listen, I still carry this with me, and it is shit. If there is a way, like, you've been given this second chance to not know about this, why am I going to mess that up? Why am I going to introduce it back to
especially
you?
when the brother is already dealing with so many things emotionally, like because of his memory loss. That brings like a lot of stuff on its own. Like,
definitely, but even still, I would be like, it's fine. I don't care if that was the only thing that he'd forgotten and he had the rest of his memory. I'd have been like, listen, like.
So wait, you're saying you would want to know?
I wouldn't want to know.
Oh, yeah,
I wouldn't want to know.
Yeah.
Because you were saying that because he has other things that he's dealing with. I said, even if he had his memory and the only thing that he had forgotten was that, I still would have been like, listen, bro, I don't want to know. It's fine. Ignorance is bliss, I'm telling you.
There's zero reason like that. And what he said about it being a gift is, it absolutely was a gift. Like, God has literally come and said, this pain and suffering you're dealing with, let me wipe it from you. Literally, like, he erased that shit. Like, he could have gotten his memory back and everything, but he erased that shit. Even till now, he doesn't have his memory back. Like, he could have erased all of that.
Yeah, he would have never known.
He would have never known. Fam,
but I think it makes a lot more sense now, especially because of the other siblings and the gaps in the story and stuff. I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so that's us.
That's that. So, guys, it's time for a new segment called...
The real crime, I think, was the beard.
So, friends, to you, what was the real crime here?
It was the beard. Like, literally, you look at your identical twin. He has facial hair. He looks good. He is a salt and pepper zaddy.
No, but then how's that the crime?
And you, every day, you pick up the shaving tools and you shave off what God has added to you.
So the crime was the lack of the beard.
It was the
on
lack
Alex's
of the
behalf. Fair.
And it's
agreed.
like, you have somebody, like, sometimes I want to try different things, and I'm like, I don't know if this will look good on me. You have somebody who's tried
it. Would this suit me? Would this,
Fam, you've got somebody who's tried it.
But then you also would have to pick up the weight as well, I reckon. A lot of it, I think, is the weight as well as the beard.
I think it's more, like, I think anybody... That facial hair will add that je ne sais quoi.
Yeah, especially the salt and pepper vibes, because of the age they are. Yeah, it's true.
That was the crime.
That definitely was. Obviously, in all seriousness, I do think another crime, or the realest of crimes here, was the friends.
Yeah.
Because, like, you're actually a shit person. Because, like, someone could come to you and say, oh, yeah. First of all, how did that conversation even come about?
How do you identify paedophiles? Like, do you like...
Maybe they have a radar. Like, maybe
or a sign. They make, like, crypt sign.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I think that because it's one thing for someone, it's like one thing for someone to say, yeah, let's go and do this bad thing.
Yeah.
And for you to co-sign it, now there's two of you doing the bad thing.
Yeah.
Whereas you could have been like, are you crazy? Let me call social services because clearly you're a mad person.
Yeah.
So that to me was like the realest of crimes. Like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Jokes aside, that was the...
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah. What a sick world we live in, man.
Honestly, it was a really good documentary though. It was really well done. I think it was great that they were able to kind of like, you know, come out and say the things that they wanted to say in the way they wanted to say them. All right, guys, so that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. Next week, we are still planning to do the documentary about apartheid. It is available to watch on YouTube. I'll leave the link in the show notes. I tried to make a trailer, but like it's a bit weird, so I couldn't. Like, it doesn't really make sense. So there'll be no trailer at the end of this. But in the meantime, between time, you can find us on social media everywhere. Leave a comment if you are listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever, TikTok, whatever. Leave us a comment, rate, review, share, all that good stuff. Thank you so much for rocking with us, and we will see you next week.